Okay, perfect. And then Shaq was going to join here. Whenever he does, we'll bring him on as well. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. Looks like y'all can hear me. Saw a lot of 777s in the chat, so that's great. And yeah, let's get this started. So, again, tonight's format is just question answer. It's AMA, which stands for Ask Me Anything. And actually, I guess, for those of you who don't know me, you might have seen me in Discord. I am one of the co-founders of Blue Edge Financial. I'm also the OG prop farmer is what we say. I helped kind of initiate this concept of prop farming, and also am helped do the majority of the designing of Titan X. So that's me. And then Dane here. Dane did an AMA not too long ago, just a few weeks ago, I want to say, and he really introduced this concept of forward testing, which is something we're going to talk about tonight. Something I want to talk about, and it was really game changing for and eye opening for so many of us. It's something that y'all have seen we've really incorporated into the leaderboard and into our development since then. And we're going to continue to do that in the future. And some of you said, hey, hire Dane. And so we've worked out an agreement where we're working together now. And it's just been really great to have him on the team. So welcome, Dane.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. It's nice to actually be working with you guys and doing some of the things we're doing. This has really got a lot of exciting things in the hopper since we, worked together in the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, absolutely. And also I didn't mention this, but I want to say this. So Dane, you worked as in quantitative finance, meaning that you helped develop algorithms for hedge funds that traded, significant amounts of money, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So very much in line with what we're trying to do, which is use algo trading to, instead of trading hedge fund money, we're trading prop firm money. And
right.
Bots, right?
It's definitely a different animal.
Yeah.
It doesn't really map one-to-one. It does in a lot of ways. There's very algorithmic pieces to trading. You just kind of have to understand what an algorithm is and everything. But in the hedge fund space, there's a lot of different rules about how long you hold those securities and things. So we're not working on the time frames that we we are here with prop firms and day trading. It's a much different animal. But yeah, bringing as much as I can to the table to kind of help bring us to that next level, will give us another bit of edge that we didn't have before. So
absolutely, yeah, and it's just been great. All of your feedback, insights, helping us improve things, and we'll touch on some of those things tonight. But I want to, so again, tonight's format is Q&A. So any questions that you guys have, just go ahead and start putting those in the chat. This is really time for you to ask us anything you'd like. We're here to talk about recent results. Let's talk it out. I know some of you have not been pleased with recent results. Some of you had a great week this last week. I myself had a great week this last week. I made $5,000 on a funded account. I passed, I don't even know, I think 3 or 4 phase ones. Got a phase 2 passed. And then I've got a couple that are sitting in profit, and then a couple that are sitting in drawdown. So got a bunch going on, but yeah, overall was a pretty good week. We saw results come in from a lot of you guys as well, and it was kind of a deja vu of what we had only a few months ago, where that results channel was just getting flooded. It seemed like almost every single day. So that's really what we're looking forward to getting back to. There are going to be we've been through periods like this before, where we've been on winning streaks, we've been on losing streaks, and we always come out on top, right? We always figure it out, and that's just part of trading. We have to adapt with the markets and the different trading conditions. It's no secret that TFF, for example, has had quite significant delays in their execution, and that affected a lot of our traders, because many of us use TFF, and our strategies, at least up until that time, were overfit to a certain degree where, those execution delays were really hurting us. So, all of that being said, again, we have to adapt as traders and get better. And so, Dane and I have been working together a lot with the team, and we really feel like we're getting back on track here with all these updates and improvements that we're working on, and just really looking forward to it. So, anyways, again, that's one thing we can talk more about. Let's talk about your results. Let's talk about how we're, some of the updates that we have coming. Let's talk about, EPs, expectations. Let's talk about Titan updates. Anything you guys want to talk about, go ahead and ask in the chat there. Anything that's prop farming related is fair game. So, Shaq is here as well. I'm going to bring him on. Shaq is the he is the original customer success coach, and he is the manager of the customer success team. So he's like the coach of the coaches, and obviously is a coach to many of you as well. So we love Shaq. Shaq's amazing. He knows Titan X better than anyone, even myself at this point. I mean, he's a wizard at troubleshooting, at figuring out anything and everything that's going on with Titan X. So it'll be great to have him on as well, and get his perspective. So I'm going to bring him on now, and then I need to make him co-host as well, so he can start his video.
There he is. We're getting a lot of questions.
My video. Oh, there we are. All right.
Awesome. Hey, Shaq, how's it going?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good to see you. It feels like it's been a minute since we've been on AMA together, and
yeah,
I recognize the background. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Good times. All right, yeah, let's start tackling some of these questions. So first one I'm seeing here is by Hector. So he's asking, is a 6-week test with forward half enough time for MT5 optimizer to find a decent strategy? Dane, do you want to maybe take that one?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and shoot on this one. So 6 weeks, I would say no. What we found is that optimizing over longer periods of time has done better. So what we found works best, and this is one of Prit's ways of finding it, and this is why we're having a lot of really good luck lately, is with this 4% strategy. Is Prit's doing, what is it? I think he's doing 12 weeks, or is he doing 16, Joe?
He's doing 16. Yep, half forward test.
So, right. So he's doing 16 weeks, and he's cutting it in half, doing an optimization for the first 8 weeks, and then the second 8 weeks he's doing a forward test. And what he's doing is he's actually doing an extra robustness test by taking that forward sample, that strat that did well in the forward test, and he's playing it from January till now to see if it has a greater than 50% pass rate. In fact, I think he's looking for 80 or 90% pass rate, and that's what came up with that strategy that's actually doing really well right now. So is it possible that you could use a 6-week test to do that? Yes, but I would definitely recommend testing it again on even more out of sample data after you run that.
Right. And, that being said, I almost want to just start with sharing kind of what we were talking about last night and this, days on leaderboard thing. So let me do that, because I think that in of itself will be tied to a lot of questions. So can you see my screen? It should be the prop farming leaderboard.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I posted a video in the announcements channel not too long ago. I think just a couple of days ago, talking about how to identify effective strategies on the leaderboard. Strategies that are going to be even more likely to perform in the live market. And what I mean by that is, for those of you who have been here for a longer period of time, I mean, how many of you have had the experience where you load up a top leaderboard strategy and you put it on your chart and it runs in the live market and it just kind of flops, right? Like it just hits equity protectors and ultimately fails the challenge, even though it was a top leaderboard strategy. Has anybody here experienced that? Maybe 111 if you have. I'd just be curious. I think that's something that a lot of us can relate to, right? And that's obviously something that we want to avoid. And it's not to say that we're always going to be able to avoid it, right? Anything can happen in the market at any time. We can't predict the future, but we can increase our probabilities of having strategies that are going to perform in the live market. So how do we do that? Well, what I would say first is, just the current ranking system that we have on the leaderboard, right? It's ranking by pass rate, by recency score, forward test, forward tested strategies, all this stuff, right? It's not really proven to be the key indicators for a strategy that's going to perform in the live market, right? So just and what's evidence of that is just what you all said, right? Like, you've all had the experience where you'll load up a top strategy and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to perform in the live market. So how do we do that? So something that we started looking at, and this is something that Dane actually brought up, is he asked us to put on this days on leaderboard metric, right? And so if we look here, we can see that some strategies have been on the leaderboard longer than others. Something else that Dane has been talking about is forward testing or out of sample data. So what does out of sample data means? Well, you have the data that you trained your strategy on, right? So that would be the backtest dates. Okay, so this strategy was trained from July to November. Okay, and actually that's not right. That's updated because of the workers working in the background. But yeah. Anyways, so minus 34 days, right? That was the time frame that it was trained on. So it might be July till September that it was. In fact, that's exactly what it is. It's from July till September 30th when it was submitted. That's the data that it was trained on. Okay, and then anything that happens after that, that's out of sample. Okay, so the backtest dates, that's the in sample data, and then everything that happens either in front of that or even behind that is considered out of sample data. So since the submitted on date, right, the September 30th, it's been on the leaderboard for 34 days. Okay, and we can see how has it performed since that time. So if we pull up the results and we look at September 30th, right here is when it was submitted, okay, over the weekend. We can see kind of how it's done since then, right? And it actually did pretty good there for a minute, and it's just sitting in some drawdown right now. But overall, it's done fairly well, right? And if we look at this in drawdown here, we kind of have a lot of EPs being hit, 7, 6, 4, 3. Wonder what the average is. Okay, the average is only 2. So, I mean, we can see here that there are some weeks where, 8, 7, 6, EPs occurred and it still passed. But yeah, I mean, we can look and say that, okay, this strategy did perform after it was submitted, right? It didn't just tank, it actually passed in the live market. Let's look at another strategy. This strategy right here, this strategy has actually performed quite well since it was submitted. So we can see that it's 54 days on the leaderboard, which days on leaderboard, that means days that it had a recency score of greater than 100. Once the recency score drops below 100, then it's no longer considered on the leaderboard, right? So if we look at this, 54 days on leaderboard, it was submitted on September 10th. Okay, so we pull up the results, look at September 10th. That's when it was submitted, right? And this one initially didn't do so hot, had a couple of fails in a row, but since then has done pretty dang well. A couple of fails in there, but then it got back on track, and I mean, these ones are hardly even in that much drawdown, less than 3%. It's done pretty well since then, right? Let's look at another one.
Joe, there's a question here about whether it's possible to filter the leaderboard by days on leaderboard.
Yes, not currently, but that's where this is all going to that's where I'm going with this. That's something that we want to be looking at, right? We want to be able to sort by days on leaderboard and then pick strategies, pick the best ones that have been on the leaderboard for at least 30 days. Okay. So now instead of just grabbing the top strategy and hoping that it works in the live market, we'll be able to choose from a pool of strategies that have already been running in the live market and have proven themselves in the live market. So we're going to be able to choose from strategies that are actually proven in the live market rather than just grabbing the top strategy and hope it actually performs in the live market. So that's the big difference. So if we look at this one here, this one's been on the on the leaderboard for 49 days, right? We pull up the results tab here. Sorry, I missed the submission date. It's September 15th. Okay, so let's look and see how this one is done since September 15th. Okay, again, initially not so hot, failed 6 EPs, 5 EPs. I mean, you know, but it did eventually pass, but initially it didn't do so hot, failed, right? Might not be one you would normally grab. But we gave it 30 days. You know, if we gave it 30 days, I mean to say, then that would take us to here. Looking back, this strategy performed really good in the live market besides those initial fails there. And then if we, you know, had grabbed it after those 30 days, since then, it's done quite well as well, right? So in fact, it's been on an absolute tear. Again, it's just in some drawdown here, but it's done very well after proving itself over 30 days. And so that's really what we're going for here. Again, we're going to be sorting these strategies now by not just the highest pass rate and recency score, but rather we're going to be putting the strategies that have been on the leaderboard for 30 days or more at the top. And then we can choose the ones who perform the best in that 30 days of out of sample data, and choose from those strategies that have already been running in the live market, that have already proven themselves in the live market. So does that make sense? 777 in the chat if that makes sense. And just as I said that, I'm like, crap, now it's gonna put all the questions above the 777s. But
That's fine.
I do want to
I'm keeping up with the questions.
Okay, good. But I do just want to make sure that that's making sense. Is that something that you guys are excited about? Something that makes sense to you? Because, you know, this is something that I think is really, you know, different than we've done in the past, but something that I think can really make a big difference. Just again, based on the fact that we're going to be choosing from strategies that are already proven in the live market. You know, just if I post a strategy that has 100% pass rate and like a 400 recency score, we know that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to perform in the live market. So by doing this new way of sorting on the leaderboard, this is going to take out a lot of the guesswork, hopefully, right? And we're going to be able to identify strategies that actually work, that are actually proven in the live market to choose from instead.
Josh just asked if there's a way to keep a lot of those duplicates off the leaderboard, and I just shot an answer back that said the days on the leaderboard sorting will help a lot, especially when we start promoting those strats. So that way a lot of the strategies that are fresh or freshly optimized by people won't show up and stay on the leaderboard for very long. Because we'll have a majority of strats that are older than 30 days, so anything that's 1 or 2 days old won't stay on there.
Yep, for sure.
That's one part of it, but I think the other part is that it also, the backtest verified check mark is based on a certain difference between different strategies. So if it is backtest verified, and there's another strategy that is similar to it, that one will not be backtest verified. So you can filter it out that way as well.
Yeah, so like right here, this little rewind arrow, that's the column for backtest verified. That just means the strategy is unique. So if it doesn't have that, it could be a duplicate. And duplicate really just means the entries are 80% the same or more. So if it doesn't have the check yet, then, you know, it may or may not be a duplicate. The team hasn't gotten to it yet, but ones that do have the backtest verified are not duplicates, just FYI.
Yep. Is there an option to do multi-sort like we can do on Excel? I think Hector's asking that question, and I think that's come up a couple times now, is to do a multi-sort.
Multi-sort?
Yeah, like in terms of like you can filter by, you can have two separate filters running on the same thing. Because right now our leaderboard is set so that you can only filter by a single column. Can you
Yeah.
do it so that it's multiple? You can filter by multiple.
Yeah. In fact, in the admin, we do that, but
Yeah.
not on here. But yeah, that's something we could look at. But yeah, I mean, like for me personally, like I want to know, okay, what strategy's been on the leaderboard for 30 days or more, and out of those strategies, I want to see the one with the highest pass rate and the highest recency score. So this one, Happy Day by Josh, looks like a great strategy, but personally, I want to see this on the leaderboard for longer before I use it. Although this one happens to be performing great since it was, I mean, so far, right? But versus like this one here is 28.46 RMMA, 49 days on the leaderboard, 96% pass rate over the last 12 weeks, which is how many days? 60 days? Something like that? No.
Oh, 12
like 90
weeks?
days. Yeah, it'd be more like 90 days.
Maybe
But
4 days.
yeah. But over, this is more than half of that, right? So 96% are still passes. And it's got a relatively high recency score. Just the other day, this was higher, but that's just because the strategy is currently in drawdown. But I mean, this is one that to me looks really good. Relatively high recency score, high pass rate, and it's been on the leaderboard for more than 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, do you want to talk to them about the change in the recency score that we talked about last night?
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're thinking about doing for that is just make it a little more dialed, a little more accurate. So like this week right here, if we were to round this would round to 99,000. It's only 1% drawdown. And so instead of getting dinged 6 points for that, it would just be -1 because it's only in minimal drawdown versus this one here. This is in 7% drawdown. So this would be -7 points. So again, just to kind of dial that in a little bit better.
I think that's great. That'll help filter out some of that.
Right, right. I think that'll give us a really good idea as things start to change, that this leaderboard will sort based off of that recency score a little bit more effectively. So that way, if things really start to tank quick on a strat, it'll quickly push it down the leaderboard a lot faster than something that's, slowly losing. So that way, people can get a really good feeling for what's performing well at any given time. So
Right. And I did just want to say too, like a question that I had when we were looking at all of this is like, okay, is forward testing not that important anymore? And it still is, but this is kind of taking forward testing to another level. Like the whole concept is forward testing is to test your strategy on out of sample data, right? And so forward testing in a back test is just doing that, right? You're optimizing on back test data, and then you're taking the best strategies on that back test and then running them on that out of sample forward tested data, right? But even better would be if you could take your strategy and run it for 30 days, see how it does, and go from there. Because that is live market forward testing. And so that's really like the golden standard of what we're looking for is strategies that perform out of sample. And if it's in the live market out of sample, even better. So that really is what we're looking for, right? Ultimately, right? At the end of the day, we're looking for strategies that perform in the live market, not just
right,
back tests, not just the forward test and the back test, but the actual live market.
right, and that goes to JD's question. He asked one earlier about people downloading leaderboard strats and successively, optimizing a little bit and then running it on forward tests. That means that those would actually be overfit. But the idea here on the leaderboard by doing this, it doesn't matter what anybody does with MTP now. You guys can overfit completely and then throw it on the leaderboard, and you guys don't have to worry anymore about forward testing because now we're taking care of the forward testing and ensuring that that's happening. So that way, as people download strats from the leaderboard, they can have a much higher level of confidence that this is forward tested, this is going to perform. The likelihood that it will perform is exponentially greater just because of the fact that we've actually validated these strats. You shouldn't be putting things on and they should be tanking right away. we'll have a really good measure, right, here in the next month or so, as we start to get strats on the board and these things start to time out and go through those time ranges. We'll get a lot better feel for which strategies are actually going to perform going forward. So we actually have some things in the back burner that I don't know if Joe wants me to talk about, but we've talked about ways to predict whether strategies are going to do well. And we're not there yet, but hopefully in the future we'll be able to do that as well. So that way we can really, really dial in what strats we should be using on any given day or any given week. So.
Yep, exactly. John says awesome sauce.
Love it.
Oh, we got a couple questions in there from Wayne and Kyle.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Wayne was asking about the maximum difference between forward and back complex criteria. Yeah. Wayne, on my AMA, I said I try not to do anything further than, I try to keep everything around 90 on there. But the complex criterion weighs a lot of different variables in its calculation. So the best thing I can recommend, and this is the question I've gotten a lot in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, is how do you do that? The number one thing I look at is I look at the complex score and I look at the profit and the drawdown, right? I kind of just look at the difference between those two. And I look at the profit on the highest ones and the back tests in the highest ones and make sure that those compare pretty closely. And I look at the drawdown next and make sure that the drawdown is similar on each one. So that way in the back test, if it has really high drawdown, but on the forward test, it has really low drawdown, that's a red flag right there. You want the drawdown to be consistent across those. The next thing that you want to look at is all of the other pieces to the right of the drawdown. You want to look at Sharpe ratio. You want to look at the recovery factor. I don't really pay a lot of attention to profit factor because that can be overinflated for bad strategies, things that take too much risk and win every once in a while. I try to avoid that. But just look at all the variables overall and just kind of compare the back and forward tests and just see if they're similar. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 90 on the score. Like you can get away with 50s and 60s as long as the drawdown is low enough, because the drawdown directly correlates to failures on the testing. So definitely keep that in mind as you're looking through it, and just try and make them as close in comparison as you can and reduce the amount of failures over time. And then whenever you get done with that testing, throw it on some extra out of sample data if you want to, just to make sure that it's robust. So he also asked how far out becomes too far out. That's a really good question. With the model that Titan uses, what we're finding is, Joe, would you say it's accurate to say less is more in a lot of cases, but doing, so when we first started the AMA here, we were talking about how Prit does it. He does it over 8 weeks back test, 8 weeks forward test, and then he does an additional out of sample test just to validate whether or not it breaks right away. And a lot of the ones that we did that with, when we were doing 12 weeks, doing 6 and 6, we were running them on the January till now, and we were finding that not a lot of them work, which comes as no surprise, right? It's very, very difficult to find a really good strategy that performs over that length of time. That's not a small feat. The fact that Prit has done that is a very big thing, which is, it's kind of one of those holy grail type of things almost. So we'll see how long that lasts. It may not last for very long, but having it at least till now is a very big thing for us to be able to use, which is why so many people have been passing lately. So to further that, for training, there's a variable amount that you can use. You'll find that certain periods will work better for optimization. Certain periods you'll want longer periods for optimization, and certain times you'll want shorter periods for optimization. So it's just kind of a feel, but doing that extra out of sample testing and running it over an extended period of time afterwards will definitely help you get a feel for whether or not it's a robust strat. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I actually yesterday I was doing a lot of testing. I was looking at some of the top strategies that have been on the leaderboard for more than 30 days. And I was running them all the way back to January to see, oh, maybe all of these, are high pass rates from January till now. And maybe that's kind of the common denominator of strategies that perform well in the live market. Like perhaps that is what causes a strategy to perform well in the live market. And to be honest, I didn't find that to be the case. Some of them performed decent. A lot of them didn't from January till now, right? But they of the ones I looked at, they all performed well in the live market. So is it strategies that perform well from January till now, over a longer time period is what I mean? Like, is that what makes them perform in the live market? I would say so far, I wouldn't say that's the case. I wouldn't say that's, the answer of what's going to cause a strategy to perform in the live market. Is it forward testing over is it forward testing over 12 weeks with a half forward test, or is it 16 weeks, or is it 6 months and 6 months? I don't know, to be honest with you. So, it's going to be really interesting as we're focusing more on these strategies that are on the leaderboard for 30 days or more and have proven themselves in the live market, to kind of see what are the common denominators there. And it may be a combination of all the above. It may not be. But regardless, at least for us as traders, like it doesn't really matter, right? We want to use strategies that have proven themselves in the live market, and that's what this is going to allow us to do. And I think over time we're going to be able to identify, like I said, we're going to be able to identify what's causing some strategies to work over ones that aren't. And maybe not. I mean, maybe we just you put out a bunch of strategies, and some of them happen to be the ones that perform in the live market. And if that's the case, that's fine, because we're able to sort by the ones that are actually proven from the ones that aren't. So yeah, it's all very interesting. But yeah, I don't know if that helped.
Can we move on to a couple other questions here? So the question here is, with the new randomized entry delay for automatic uniqueness, are there any other requirements for individuals to achieve uniqueness, like changing the MAs, or can you just trust that it'll be unique? With this one, I think the whole goal for us as a company is we understand and we've acknowledged the fact that our product is complex. We know it. And so the idea that we're coming out with is, instead of you guys having to make the strategy unique on your side, is you flick the switch of this randomizer and it now makes that strategy unique for you. So the idea is that you would back test it and forward test it 3 times or 4 times based with the randomizer set to true. So you should get a different result each time. And so if each time you get similar or better results than the original strategy, you're now randomizing your results, but you've now made your entire strategy unique by just flicking that switch. And that's kind of what the idea is on our side. Joe, Dane, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, no, just it's a really cool feature. Like you said, Shaq, it's just gonna make making your strategy random easier. Because I know that's a part of the process that kind of has overwhelmed a lot of people, and rightfully so. I mean, there hasn't been really like specific instructions on how to make your strategy unique, because if there were, then everybody would just follow those instructions and the strategies wouldn't be unique because everybody's doing the same thing, So it's kind of been this ambiguous, like, yeah, go out there and make your strategy unique. But with this, just like you said, Shaq, all you have to do is use the randomizer feature, and you're automatically going to have random entries, random and like delays on all of your entries. So you're going to have different entries than the person next to you, right? Just by using that feature, because yeah, it's randomizing each trade, and not just using a static delay, which could very well be the same as somebody else, the person sitting next to you again, right? So it should make that much easier.
JD actually brought up a good point with that, which is a really good point to make to the community, is that when you optimize a strategy, if you optimize it with that off and then you throw it on afterwards, you flip that switch on and then you test the strategy and it doesn't break, that's a really good sign that it's not overfit and that it is really robust. And that's really going to be kind of our gold standard at some point. When you optimize a strategy and then you flip that on afterwards, if it breaks the strategy, it shouldn't be run, because and JD used the term sensitivity test. That's a really good way to think about it, because strategies shouldn't be that sensitive to delay. They should be exploiting longer swings where, you you can add a pretty good amount of delay and it won't actually break the way the strategy works. It should be able to function with that. So,
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Amanda, your question about how to use the randomizer, it's actually just a setting that's right in Titan X. And it's just use randomizer. Um, and it just set it to true and it'll do it for you. So there's no really method to the videos are the same. It's just turning that switch to true instead of false. That's the only difference to your test.
Yep. Yep. And I'll make a video here shortly with some examples. I I actually was testing it this week and I don't think it's working correctly. And so we're waiting for the new update for that. It's not to say if you're using it, like anything bad's going to happen. It just means that, you know, your trades might not be, uh, you know, randomized at each instance. All right. So it's basically just working the exact same way as it was before, without the randomizer, where you just have a static delay. And so we're sorting through that right now. But as soon as that's ready in the next update, then I'll make some training videos on it with some examples, and we'll put it in the settings explain document and all that good stuff. That yeah,
I
it's
was gonna say, do
exactly.
you want to? Should we? Yeah. All right. So Joe and I are on the same wavelength over here. So one of the big updates that when I came on board, I had started talking to Joe about OpenCL. So inside of MT5, all our EAs are written in something called MQL5, and MQL5 supports something called OpenCL. And Titan, as it stands, was a very single-threaded process. As you guys know, that's why we needed multiple cores so we could run multiple tests in parallel. And what we've done is we've gone ahead and had our developers work together, and we kind of took Titan and pulled all the pieces apart, and we're now putting it back together with core that's built on OpenCL, so that way we can use graphics cards to parallelize the processing. And what that means is that something that would take normally 3 minutes, a run that would take 3 minutes, now is going to take about 3.25 seconds. So we made the back testing about 42 times faster. It may actually end up being faster than that, but that's our preliminary numbers that we're seeing in testing, which is a really good sign. So those 10,000 iterations that we're doing are going to get a whole lot faster, so we can test over longer spans of time, get better strats, more data, and we're going to start iterating even faster. So this is really, really good news for us.
Just a huge update and just big things coming.
And it's going to be ready even sooner than we expected. Sorry, I don't know if you said that, but
no, I didn't. I'm leaving that one to you. So I'm gonna let Joe answer the rest of the questions.
yeah.
I'm just excited. So
Yeah, I mean it's we said that it's going to take months. It sounds like it's going to be ready even faster than that. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to, you know, wrong expectation.
right.
But yeah, I mean it's all going great so far. So looking forward to that. On that same wavelength though, with this next version of Titan X that's about to be released, I just got word back that it's going to be twice as fast as the current version. So what we did was not OpenCL related, but we just went into the Titan X code and just optimized it. I'll just say, to keep it simple a little bit. And it's made a significant difference. So it's about twice as fast. So we'll be able to use that in the meantime as well.
So one other thing that I think we should mention, Joe, is with the Titan upgrades, one of the things that we're doing is we're looking at adding exit conditions, which is a huge ordeal for us. I know a lot of you have sat there and watched our trades go up and it gets a peak, and then all of a sudden it dips and we hit EP. We're working on making it so that way that no longer happens. We're starting to add exit conditions as well as more entry conditions. We're looking at doing support and resistance. We're looking at adding more indicators. We understand that Titan needs to be more dynamic than it is. So we're looking at how to make it do that, because we have listened, we hear you guys, we get it. So we're putting in as many pieces as we can without making the bot too heavy and putting too much stuff in there that we don't need. But what we're looking at is just making it dynamic enough where we can adjust to the conditions of the market, so that way we don't have to re-optimize as much, and when we do, we actually have enough horsepower to re-optimize and get it done quickly, so that way we can iterate faster. So that's really been our focus over the last 3 weeks to a month, is just trimming the fat off of Titan, making it faster, and then adding more entry and exit conditions and separating those two, so that way the exit conditions can be programmed separately from the entry conditions, so that way we can really start to tune this thing and get an even bigger edge than we've had. So
Yes.
and we've had Shaq busy over there testing all this stuff. I know that.
All
Shaq's
day,
been cool.
all day, every day. I'm pumped for the support and resistance, I'll be honest. I think that's just
Right.
gonna be, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be an update that I mean, I'm seeing it in the chat. Like there's people who are already excited about that, and it's coming. It's something that we've been working on. And I think from our end, there's going to be a lot of things that you guys as clients may not see, even as members. Like you guys won't see these things, but they're just always be aware that we're taking all of the feedback that you're giving us, and we're not doing nothing with it. We are talking about it. We're implementing whatever we can. Obviously we can't implement everything. There's a lot of you giving us suggestions, and it's impossible for us to implement 1,000 features in a week. Like that's it, just not possible. But just know that we are working in the background here to make sure we're making this product better every time we release a new version.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, the plan right now for support and resistance is to just incorporate the zones that are in BSI into Titan X. I know that was an ask that a lot of people had, was can you like put BSI into Titan X, and that's essentially what we're going to be doing to start. We can always improve it from there, but that's the idea. If anybody has any other ideas though about specific ways to optimize support and resistance, feel free to send me a DM. But that's just the plan for now. Just letting you guys know.
Yeah. Let's read some questions here. Muhammad asked about price action.
There's questions all over the place.
Yeah, I was just reading Vinay's, I'm probably saying that wrong, I apologize, message here saying that we can't just have a randomizer on the entries, but also need to have it on the exits as well. The good news is if your entries are random, then you're going to hit stop loss at different times. And so your exits will also be random by default.
Yeah, somebody's talking about ICT concepts, which is interesting. That's what kind of gave us the idea for the support and resistance. We're going to start with support and resistance, I think, but we have looked at integrating some ICT concepts, like some of the silver bullet concepts. A lot of that's really hard to program, and some of the ICT stuff is very subjective. Miguel and I talked about this a lot. I'm not sure if Miguel's on listening, but we've had a lot pretty lengthy discussions about ICT concepts and how some of that can get subjective, and trying to program that is really difficult. So, we'll continue to look at it and see if there's any value in that, but we're gonna start with the simplest pieces, because in my experience of writing bots, simpler is better, and the simpler you can keep it, the better that bot will perform. As long as we have parameters that we can tune, we'll be able to do well. But we'll definitely keep our eyes on that, and evaluate whether or not that's something that's going to be useful, or something that we can actually program into a bot. But
absolutely. And I think Dane touched on this a bit, and I think I've touched on this with multiple of my members, is Dane even stated, like, the ICT can be very subjective. How Titan X works, or how Titan AC works, any of our tools, is they're very objective. They're based on, and so I look at the settings not as settings. I look at them as a set of rules. You're basically taking a whole bunch of rules, and you're saying, okay, I need this rule to be active, I need this rule to be present, I need this rule to be present. Once all of your rules are present, then it will enter a trade. It's I think that's just a different way of looking at it. Instead of looking at it as what settings do I tweak? It's what rule do I want to be met? It's is that a different kind of logic behind that? And so it takes all of these and it makes it very, very objective and takes out that emotion. It takes out that human nature factor.
Right. The way I think of Titan, Shaq, this is a really good way to like what you're saying is rules. The way that we use Titan and the way we optimize, it's literally just trying to exploit the statistical probabilities of the market, right? And we're just tuning it to fit certain parts of the market and make it work under certain conditions, right? And those conditions don't always work, which is when we hit EP or, the markets are pretty much impossible to predict. But the fact that we can get a pretty good statistical analysis of it and model that and see how well we're going to do, that is why we're so successful, is because we can look at that and go, okay, well, the statistical probability of us winning half the time is pretty high because this won 90% of the time. Previously, we got out of sample data, it didn't blow up, so we didn't overfit it. So we can see, oh yeah, well, in the next week or so, it should do okay, right? It at least won't blow up an account maybe, and hopefully we'll pass, and that's a lot better than a lot of people can say with their bots. So, we're actually winning. So that says a whole lot more about it.
John said, would it be possible to have a live testing and Q&A for people that are not as techy as others? Yes.
I thought about that a lot, though.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
we
think it's a
could do like an
possibility.
AMA where we just sit on and do live testing and show something kind of like Miguel was doing.
Yeah. Miguel's got some really good videos too. I don't know if you've looked at those videos, but as far as just being able to watch somebody go through the process, Miguel's got some awesome videos. In fact, he's got one on 4 testing that he did just most recently, and I'm writing this down now. I'm going to add that to the strategy tester channel, and that way it's there for reference, easy reference. But
Yeah.
You can also message your coach, and they could probably link you to that.
Yep.
Yeah, Miguel's videos are great. So if you guys haven't seen how to do it, definitely get your hands on those and watch it, because he does do like a live stream of doing all that, and it's pretty enlightening for those of you who haven't actually had a chance to see that.
Amanda asks, for your live accounts, how long do you typically run the same strategy, and what's your longest running live account since using TitanX? I don't run the same strategy for very long. That's just been me in the past. If there's a better strategy available, then I figure I might as well use that. That being said, I'm really excited to, going forward now, choose from a pool of strategies that are proven rather than just grabbing the next top leaderboard strategy, which in my opinion is really just kind of a toss-up of, is it going to perform in the live market or not? Right now we'll have actual proven strategies to choose from. So but still, I mean, the same concept of, me personally, I like to switch strategies if there's a better one available, but not until I've hit not until I've passed or failed, or not until I've hit my profit target on a funded account, right? So it wouldn't be like, oh, I hit an EP and now I'm going to switch strategies. For me, at least, I'm going to see it all the way through until I hit my profit target, or fail the challenge, actually. So, but then phase 2 comes along. So I pass phase 1, phase 2 comes along, and then I'll get a better one that I see on the leaderboard for phase 2. And then past phase 2, funded account, I'll grab another new one until I hit that profit target. And then I'll get my withdrawal. And then for the next run, I'll look at the leaderboard to see if there's a better one and then use that one. So, over the course of that, I'll use 3 or 4 different strategies, but not switching in the middle after an EP hit, if that makes sense. And then what's the longest running live account since using TitanX? I don't know. And I just say that because it's, to me, how long I can run a live account isn't really important. I look to see how much money can I make on a single funded account. And I think for me, it's like 20% or so that I made on a funded account once. And that was my best run on a funded account. But that's just me. I mean, I'm pretty aggressive, honestly, with my funded accounts, and I'm always planting seeds or always taking challenges. So, if a funded account blows, it doesn't bother me because I have one in the queue to take its place. And that's really helped me a lot.
Yeah, I've got
And I
one
think
that
we've
made it.
mentioned this multiple times. Like psychology is 90% of the game. Like just being able to accept some of those losses and move on. Like Joe said, he doesn't like a loss doesn't really phase him anymore. Um, it's easier said than done. That I can admit. It's definitely easier said than done. But psychology is 90% of trading itself. The rest of it is just let Titan do what it does. Um, but we gotta let our emotions not take the place of our actions.
Right. It's cool. Like you're only like one withdrawal away, at any given time, no matter how bad the losing streak that you might be on is. Because we're all going to face that, right? It doesn't matter what strategy, doesn't matter. Like you're going to go through it. Even back, a few months ago when, I had a funded rate of over 50%. I know Dane's had funded rates up in like 80, 90%. Even during those times, like, you'll go on cold streaks, you'll go on hot streaks. So, I've failed, I don't know, probably 6, 7, 8 challenges, in a row, but I've also passed 6, 7, 8 challenges in a row as well. So it just goes both ways, right? But yeah, I mean, you're only one withdrawal away. And what I mean by that is, for example, like I just made $5,000 on one of my funded accounts this week. That pays for 10 failed challenges in one withdrawal, and not only that, but I'll take that withdrawal and then I'll get to run that live account again. And if I make another 5%, now that's paid for 20, so yeah, I mean, you're really just one withdrawal away and you're right back on track and you're going again. So it just, kind of goes along with what you're saying, Shaq, psychology and perspective.
Right. And to further that just a little bit, the thing to know is when you're early on in this process, it is extremely difficult to watch accounts blow up. For me, it was incredibly hard to watch. I was terrible at it, but I also had a pretty good idea of how the numbers worked. So I was switching strats often, which is part of why I had a really high success rate. I don't recommend anybody try that unless you know exactly what you're doing. Most people don't. So don't try that. But that's what it was really, really difficult for me. But as time has gone on and the recommendation is start with small accounts that you can afford to lose. Do not go in with 100Ks. I would never recommend somebody do that, even if they have the capital to do it, because it damages your psychology. Start with 10Ks and then use the house money concept. And look, before you get far into this, listen to the post-funded video. You will not keep every funded account. The reality is, even though you're making 94%, I can pass phase twos at like 84% right now. That's considering we had a really tough time, that's a really high pass rate. But keeping my funded rate, that's 50%. That's much lower than the actual funded rate because they use different filters on those accounts. They use different plugins. They try and slip you more. There's all kinds of variables in there that you can't account for no matter how hard you try. You're trying to bet, you're playing against the casino. So they're going to make it more difficult for you to pass. So in the live market, your numbers are going to be drastically smaller. So know that going into it, that you're going to have to put 2 or 3 or 4 challenges through to get them funded, and maybe 2 of those will pay out. So my payout rate is 50% right now. And that's pretty good overall. And the ROI on that is really good. So make sure you watch the post-funded videos. So that way you understand going into this that it's a numbers game. It's a game of getting accounts in, past, and through to that first failure or payout. Failures are part of the game, so you have to get there. So once you understand that, you can go through a lot better and go, okay, well, some of these are going to blow up. And you go into it knowing, okay, well, 2 out of my 4 are going to blow up. That's great. And if you go in small, that way you can use the payouts from those to fund the ones that are going to blow up. It's a lot less painful using money that you haven't, broke your back over at whatever job you're working to try and fund those. That's a lot more painful. So make sure you use those things to help with the psychology on it as you go along. And actually, Joe, remind me to send out the spreadsheet. I've got a planning spreadsheet for people so that way they can put in, I want to do this on this month, so that way they can keep track of their expenditures and kind of how much they've invested into it. So that way they can see their ROI really quickly.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good.
All right. Well, actually, Joe, I'm going to jump so I can go spend time with the wife here. But it was good talking with you all. Thank you all for your time tonight. It's really good talking with you all. I hope you guys, come out of this with a lot of a lot of hope going forward, and we're gonna, we're never gonna stop. We're gonna try and keep going as hard as we can, and no matter how hard these markets try and take us, we are not gonna let it get us down. So we're gonna keep charging forward for you. Joe, Shaq, it's good seeing you too.
Hey, thanks, Dane.
Uh,
Appreciate it.
Yep, see y'all.
See ya.
Regarding that December upcoming, we'll make an announcement as we get a little closer to. Just bear with us here. We'll make an announcement on what that's gonna look like and when we recommend you stop trading and all of that. So don't overthink that right now, but just be aware that there will be an announcement coming.
Ramona asked, is there a person on the team we can make an appointment with to teach us how to instruct the rules to the bot? I know what I want it to do. I just don't know how to tell it to do it. I would say talk to your coach. I would say message in the farmers chat. There's a lot of really savvy traders inside the farmers chat who know Titan X very well and can probably help you. So your coach, farmers chat, and Shaq's probably the best for that, but I know he's really busy. So, he might, if you send him a DM, he might have some time to respond to you at some point, but
yeah, shoot me a DM. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Or at least I'll guide you to the right place if need be. So just, yeah, shoot me a DM and we'll make it happen for you. Our goals are to help see all of you be successful, right? Like that's what we want, right? So whatever we can do, we'll do what we can.
Cecilia, you asked where are the older AMAs? For some reason, the embedded messages all of a sudden got like a text limit. And so the old ones just got like vanished. They just like disappeared. Right. So like as we added new ones, the old ones just got pushed off. So I'm gonna go I'll update that. I'm gonna write that down because I know that that's a problem recently is they're not all there anymore. Okay, is optimizing something that we have to do to make sure the strategy works live? No, it's not. In fact, like we talked about at the beginning of this call, you're going to be able to, I mean, the leaderboard is going to be sorted based on how long strategy has been on the leaderboard. So, you'll be able to look from a pool of strategies that have been on the leaderboard for 30 days or more, and you're going to be able to choose from those the top performing ones of those. So you're going to see which ones have proven themselves the most in the live market and choose from those. That's how you can make sure that strategy works live is choose from strategies that have actually worked live instead of just grabbing the top one. So that's something we talked about a little bit earlier on this call. Happy to go back though and clarify if we need to.
Yeah, optimizing is not mandatory.
Our strategy on the leaderboard going for 4% or 8%. Really just depends on the strategy. You'll see different risks or rewards. Some strategies will risk 4% to make 1%. Some strategies will like the 4% one that Prit post. Oops. I mean BF Optimizer 4 posted. That one is risking 3 to make 4. So it just depends on the strategy. Okay, Mariah said, I need a word of encouragement. I have not won yet. So, Maria, I would just say, number one, you're not alone. We've all had hard times in the market. Okay. I would say that there's definitely hope though, because there's many successful traders in our community, prop farmers specifically. And that, all these updates that we've gone over, I mean, this is just going to help increase your likelihood even more. What I would say is in the meantime, while you're working on getting back on track is number one is I would scale down your risk. So take smaller size challenges. I would even sit out, if you'd like, until you start seeing that results channel get flooded again. So you could do that. I would say those are the main things. I would scale back during losing periods or sit out, and just know that this works. It absolutely works. We have people who have even quit their jobs to do this full time. I mean, it's really just comes down to a numbers game, like Dane talked about. And I think especially like if you've been on an extended losing streak, that gets really hard. And I totally know that. So, because I've been there myself as well. But like I said, we always get back on track. You said you've kind of, let's see, you started in June and you can't even get one funded. That I would say is longer than I would definitely expect. In fact, June, July were really good months. So there might be something that you're doing on your end. And so I would just make sure that you're in touch with your coach to make sure that's sorted. Just to make sure that you're on track. You might not be doing anything wrong either, but I would just get in touch with your coach just to make sure that you're doing everything right as well. So sorry, I hope that's helpful. Also talk with your coach to find specific solutions for you, because everybody's a little bit different. So that's all I can really say here. But talk to your coach, and they'll talk with us. We'll find a way to help you for sure.
Yeah, utilize your coaches. Your coaches are there to help you through these times, right? Um, every one of our coaches are fantastic. They're always there for you. They're really just a message away. So you never have to worry about, like, if you're ever hesitant to send them a message, don't be. Just that's what they're there for. Just take the time out, send them a quick message. They will respond to you. Give them a little bit of time, but they will respond. And they will give you the right guidance. And if that comes down to, hey, I just need some words of encouragement, by all means, just reach out to them and literally say that, and they will. They'll provide you with whatever guidance they can give you. They'll even provide you with the experiences they've had. And I think that's really helpful as well. So utilize your coaches. They're there for a reason.
All right. So we are at the top of the hour. And looks like we've covered pretty much all of the questions. They asked, does Cap Train America's AMA approach work even in low volume months like December? I don't think he's been trading his approach in like over December before. I don't think he's traded it long enough to see multiple Decembers. So I don't know. But you could message him for sure and just kind of get his opinion. But I don't think there's any data behind that at this point. I just joined 2 days ago. Where do I start from? Start with your
Roadmap.
coach. Coach is going to direct you to the roadmap. Is going to guide you. Is going to hold your hand and point you to the right direction of where to go. So I would start with your coach, and the coach will guide you where you need to what you need to do.
Always, your coach is your best friend. If they aren't, make them your best friend.
Exactly.
Terrence, should I change strategies during drawdown? My personal guidance is no. I will always let a strategy ride out until pass or fail. I will run phase one, and to be honest, sometimes I don't even look at it for a week. I load it up on a Sunday, and I might not look at it till Thursday. Either it passed or it failed, and it is what it is. You just kind of you take it, you move on to the next one, and this is what goes back to that whole psychology piece, right? Like you take all of the emotion out. Spend your time. And I'll go back to the analogy that I used last time, or not even the analogy, like the outcome and our goal again was freedom of time. If you're staring at the chart all day, you might as well work a 9 to 5, but the goal is to not work a 9 to 5. So load up Titan X, load up Titan AC, and walk away.
It's funny. So I feel like I'm pretty good, relatively speaking, at doing that, just letting it run and not worrying about it and not staring at the charts. And we're all different, right? And there's different levels of that. Like, you see some people in the chat who are literally like giving the play-by-play, of like, I got a trade here and then another one, and I think it should go this way, but it's going that way. And and that's fine. I'm not saying anything. I'm not calling anyone out. I'm just saying, like, that's fine. To each their own. So I'd say I'm not at that level of that, staring at charts and worrying about it. But I will say I've noticed I don't sleep as good when I have a challenge running, because I'll like wake up like a little bit earlier, I think, and then I'm just anxious to grab my phone and check how to do last night, and so yeah. Anyways, it's kind of funny. But yeah, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing for sure. Titan AC, we're not putting a focus there. I mean, there's plenty of things to focus on with Titan X right now. So Titan AC is there for those who want to play with it and kind of want to be on the bleeding edge of what's going on with that. But yeah, I would say, if you're looking for more training videos on AC, just don't worry about it. Stay focused on Titan X. I think Titan AC is a great bot, especially in trending markets. We're going to be adding all of the same like updates and dynamic features to Titan AC, and I think it'll be right up there with Titan X as a great tool for us in passing these challenges and making profits. But for now, it's not the focus. So yeah, I mean, don't worry about it unless you want to.
And John, Titan AC is just another EA that we have. It's just another bot. It's Titan X, Titan AC. It's an asymmetric compounding EA is what the AC stands for. The entry criteria is pretty much the same as Titan X, with some slight differences because we've added some stuff to Titan X that we're working on, as Joe said, to implement into Titan AC as well. But like he said, that's not the primary focus right now.
No.
Beautiful. Should we call it an evening?
Yep, let's wrap it up. All right. Oh, yeah, download LB. I just saw that. Download to Excel. That would be actually really cool. I'm gonna write that down. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. It was great chatting with y'all. I mean, at least seeing your questions and being able to answer them. But yeah, as always, we'll be in touch inside of Discord. Feel free to tag myself, Dane, Shaq inside there. We can continue the conversation, answer any questions that come up. But I'd say till next time. Have a great evening, everyone. Take care.
Fantastic. Take care, guys.